Logicomix, An Epic Search for Truth is a graphic novel about the foundational quest in mathematics. The book was written by two Greek men, the first being Apostolos Dosiadis, 55 years old, who's a mathematician, but also an actor, a writer, and a movie director, and who has dedicated most of his life to bridge the gap between science and the arts. Among his creations are a shadow puppet musical about the life of Jackson Pollock, and a play called 17th Night about the theorems of Kurt Gödel. Collaborator on the Russell project is Christos Papadimitriou, a professor of computer science at Berkeley, California. Bill Gates is among his former students. And the character design and artwork was done by Alekos Papadatos, and color was done by his wife, Annie Didona. So, the story is set between the late 19th century and the present day. This graphic novel is based on the story of the so-called foundational quest in mathematics. It covers a span of 60 years, and it intertwines the philosophical struggles and the personal turmoil of each of the characters in the story. So these characters are living in the midst of historical events during an era of important ideological battles. The narrator of the story is Bertrand Russell, a deeply sensitive and introspective philosopher and pacifist who was one of the prominent figures of this foundational quest. This graphic novel also mentions the triumph and tragedy of other thinkers of the 20th century, such as Ludwig Wittgenstein, G.E. Moore, Alfred North Whitehead, David Hilbert, Gottlob Frege, Henri Poincaré, Kurt Gödel, and Alan Turing, to cite a few. Also, a parallel tale set in present-day Athens records the authors of Logicomix discussion on the meaning of the story and the course the book should take. The comic ends up touching on the hubris of rationalism, which can only cause madness, as they say. It explains the origins and the future applications of algorithms, the incompleteness theorem, infinity, predicate calculus, Russell's paradox, set theory, and among other things. And all this is while the characters live during the turmoil of both world wars. So the illustration in this book is of the style of Hergé, the author of Tintin. It has clean lines and shapes, but it's a little richer than Tintin, with much more shadow and depth, as we see in the drawings. It has the feel of like a historical film drama with classical cinematography. The characters are drawn very iconically while still being recognizable, like fully as the people that they represent in real life, with like the occasional like embellishment of their features. And just like in Tintin, Logicomix depicts rather iconic characters with elaborate backgrounds. And so the effect of this depiction, this style of drawing, like McLeod states in Understanding Comics, is since the characters are so iconic, we can relate to them very easily. And I mean, more so for someone like me who enjoys math and scene transitions throughout the story. This comic contains mostly a moment-to-moment and action-to-action transition, like with which places the reader like right in the situation of what the characters are undergoing. The type of transition also allows for easier closure, and the reader has less connecting to do between panels, and he or she can focus more on the difficult plot and kind of the concepts that are presented that are sometimes difficult to understand. Regarding like simultaneity, we know that this novel has two parallel narratives. These narratives sometimes overlap or even go on at the same time. So this book is literally simultaneous. We even get some simultaneity within one of the large simultaneous narratives. We see here older Russell pointing at the younger Russell, and his hand even spilling into the panel of his younger days. We also get some of the universal signs of feelings and emotions, which McLeod talks about, like the smoke coming out of the head to show frustration or confusion, the star slash explosion that we see on young Birdie's head, which depicts kind of an important realization. So for the close reading aspect of this presentation, we will look to the thunderstorm page here on page 181, in which Russell and Whitehead seem to be losing their minds after too much logic. As we see on the top right corner, Whitehead screams at Russell that they're in the underworld of mathematics. And so, going back to the rest of the story, this recurring theme of the thunderstorm marks some of the most important turning points in Russell's life, like when he was young and he was realizing the impotence of religious beliefs, and the same as the night when he realized that one of his family members had a mental illness. And so, even if this the thunderstorm is not very original in the realization of madness, it's kind of a cliche. It it's very powerful in this instance, and that power is enhanced by the comics medium, where we can see and hear the whoosh of the wind and the rain um, blowing into the room that they're standing in, the facial expressions of madness of all the characters, and so this is one of the perfect examples of why this particular story was perfect to be told in comics, because all of these emotions and feelings and could not have been shown easily in writing, or it would have taken very long. So the book it's a very serious work, and it contains visibly thorough research. And the script and the artwork was made with extreme care and dedication to absolute perfection. So I mean, this book took 8.5 years to be created, and so you really need to pay attention to the details of the drawings and the coloring of the panels, because if not, you might miss a lot of things. So this book really succeeds in turning mathematical logic into a gripping drama, and it actually serves as a good way into the subject of mathematics, with a little bit of comic relief along the way. So yeah, the words and pictures are also combined perfectly for like a spectacular effect for the reader. Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend this book highly enough.